is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. The voice is slowly coming back. We're still not back. Everyone else in my house is now sick. You hate to see it, but it is what it is. Got a big old 12-game slate. First of all, hope you guys had a happy new year. I didn't make it close to midnight, but that is not surprising. First slate after the new year, 12 games. There was a game yesterday. I honestly did not have a clue. Joining me to break it down today, Son Cliffy. Did you make it to midnight?
Yeah, I did. I actually went to a late show on New Year's Eve. Started at 10 o'clock local time. It hit midnight when there was about 10, 15 minutes left in the movie. People started texting Happy New Year, saying Happy New Year to each other. And I was like, man, I'm trying to watch the movie. But had a good New Year, relaxing one. I was with friends over the weekend. I knew I was going to take New Year's off because I had some stuff to do on New Year's Day anyway. But fresh 12-game slate ahead of us here tonight. There are a few key injuries, either guys leaving the lineup or guys coming back, that we'll have to talk about, especially that very first game we'll get to with Minnesota and Washington. Before we get too far, want to shout out CL Davey 5. Played the New Year's Eve slate, played our Columbus Blue Jackets, and took first down in the $3 5 max using our Columbus Blue Jackets, who are back on the slate here tonight. So congrats to CL Davey. Love to finish 2024 that way. Can our Columbus Blue Jackets start us off on the right foot in 2025? I guess we're going to find out in the next 8 hours or so.
Well, to answer your question, you're goddamn right they can. But we'll find out. I mean, they're still under 18K. If they have another big game, it is going to be expensive. They're going to get expensive. But this should be pretty good. I'm liking this new 222 5 max that they put out, DraftKings. There's also a $20 5 max now. They're undersized, but at least they're showing a little initiative. But they actually put something in between the 40 and the 444 for once, which is nice. $20 5 max. It was a 3 max, wasn't it? And then they made it a 5 max.
Yeah, the $1, $3, $20, all those used to be 3 maxes. Now they're all 5 maxes.
Yeah. Prize pools went up a little bit, but they're still a little bit undersized. They obviously have room to grow, but that's neither here nor there. We should get into this slate. Before we do, just wanted to say thank you all for supporting us into another new year. You guys have been great. We really do appreciate you. Saw someone sign up for PGA today, and that's how I found out that PGA is starting today. But yeah, if you do want to sign up, you can click the link in the chat. Use promo code Stochastic15. That'll get you 15% off your first week or month of any subscription. PGA just started. UFC is starting back up next weekend. We have obviously NHL. We have NFL going into the playoffs. We have NBA. And maybe in 5-6 weeks, we have pitchers and catchers reporting, which is insane. But
yeah, I saw the tweet today. 84 days until opening day for baseball. 12 weeks. So getting there.
Yeah, I'm a Yankees fan, and I see all the Yankee fans on the Twitter machine inhaling all that copium, saying that they're better for not giving Soto $765 million and then signing all those players. Yeah, okay, you keep telling yourself that, but all right. Don't watch hockey. Just hopped on here to say both of you have epic beards. I would not expect anything less, considering this is a hockey show. Yeah. Beard Quarterly. Welcome. Let's get into this slate. I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, which I already did. We have 12 games to break down. Minnesota Wild with a 2.5 total heading into Washington. The Capitals have a 3 total. Tyler announcing himself here like he runs this shit. I mean, it is a new year. He hasn't not cashed yet, so he has that going for him. But Kaprizov is still out. Spurgeon is out for the Wild. This is a mess. Minnesota going Boldy, Zuccarello, Rossi, Wilson, Dubois, Protas. What the hell did I just say? Minnesota going Boldy, Zuccarello, Rossi, Eriksson, Ek, Hartman, Johansson. Washington going Ovechkin, Strome, McMichael, Wilson, Dubois, Protas. I don't have a lot of interest here in Minnesota. Almost none. They have a 2.5 road total. Only the Ducks are lower. There's 6% on that top line for Minnesota. The Dogs agree with me. Boldy, Zuc, Rossi, 16-8. They're fine. They're all 3 of them are good players. They just have not been good together. Kaprizov is the straw that stirs the drink for the whole team. At that price range, I'd rather just pay the extra 1,000 and go play Columbus. The extra 800 and even go play the Rangers here. You know what I mean? So, I'm out on Minnesota 1. Minnesota 2 is fine for 11,000. I like them the other night. I like them a little bit here tonight. For 11,000 as a filler, it's fine, but I'm not really super thrilled about Minnesota here. On the flip side, Washington, Ovechkin, Strome, McMichael, they're 20,300. They're priced into a range where they're extremely hard to prioritize. There are a handful of lines above 20K, and there are a handful of lines below 20K that I prefer to Washington. What I will say, though, it is Marc-Andre Fleury. They're missing Kaprizov. They're missing Spurgeon. They're missing Middleton. In MME, if I was making 150 tonight, I'd be over the field on this line, and it wouldn't take much because that Minnesota 1 line in the small sample has been awful. Their penalty kill sucks. The problem is Washington's 1's price. So, it's impossible to prioritize them in single entry. Washington 2, they're all right as a filler, but you're only getting 1 of them on the top power play unit, so they're fine. But my favorite line in this game is Washington 1. I don't think I'll get to any of these lines in single entry. Just is what it is.
Yeah. If this was Gustafsson starting for Minnesota, I would say I have almost no interest in Washington. As it is, you mentioned that price of 20,300 for the Caps. It's a lot to pay, especially when there's probably reason to think that that Ovechkin, Strome, McMichael line might not get a ton of ice time. I don't know if anybody's looked at Ovechkin's ice time usage since he came back. 16, 20, and 15. Right before he got hurt, 14, 15, 19, 16, 15. There are a lot of games, over his last 10 where he's playing 14, 15, maybe 16 minutes a game. That's really, really not a lot. Connor McMichael isn't playing 19, 20 minutes a game anymore. He's closer to that 17, 18 range. This could be a line where, maybe you get 16 from Ovechkin, 17 from McMichael, maybe 19 from Strome, something like that. And to pay over 20K for that, that just feels heavy. There's no ownership, right? That would be one of the big, that plus Fleury starting, plus the Minnesota penalty kill is really bad. And with no Middleton and with no Spurgeon, those are 2 of their regular penalty killers on the blue line gone. That obviously hurts. Though I do wonder if the penalty kill was god awful before and then they lose a couple regular penalty killers, can it get worse or would it just get better if the players are marginally better? Anyways,
that's like the tree in the woods question.
Okay. Anyways, there's no ownership on Washington on that top line specifically. So if you want to, if I was 20 maxing, certainly 150, I would be considering them. But without a ton of minutes, Minnesota doesn't take a ton of penalties. They've been below average in that regard all season, often well below average. I just don't have a lot of interest in paying over 20K for a line like that. Like if I'm playing a single entry and I'm paying over 20K for a line, I don't want, the two wingers to play 16 to 17 minutes, right? Like, I'll just go to like Winnipeg, Vegas, Florida, something like that instead. So for me, I don't have any interest in Minnesota, in case that wasn't clear. The only line I really have interest in is Wilson, Dubois, and Protas. Wilson's still getting top power play minutes. He might actually end up being their most used forward. Protas, he's probably the guy that's improved the most from the last couple seasons to this year, like in the NHL. He's legitimately looked like a first line winner, not just by shooting percentages or whatever. There's lots of playmaking data and transition data and stuff like that showing like he's made genuine leaps and bounds. Protas and Wilson have played a fair bit together this year, 3 goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5 and 120 minutes together. I don't think you have to full stack. Like a 2-man of like Wilson, Protas or something like that is probably what I would prefer. I have no interest in Minnesota. I have no real interest in the Washington top line in a single entry or 5 max or something like that. For me, it's just Washington 2, and it'd be more like a Wilson Protas 2-man or something along those lines rather than full stacking.
Yeah, if this wasn't the first game of the slate, I would have used this game sucks. But we have 11 more, and there are some other pretty bad ones. Boston Bruins with a 2.9 total. Heading into Madison Square Garden, the Rangers have a 3 total. It must be said, this game sucks. As long as Ryan Lindgren is with Adam Fox, stacking against the Rangers is a thing. And if you missed it, Igor Shesterkin's on IR. So at best, it's going to be Johnny Quick. It is Johnny Quick tonight. He has been an unbelievable backup for the Rangers. Like, there's no denying that. But him having to play almost every day now is going to be a mess. You throw that into the fact that the Rangers couldn't stop a nosebleed. Like, this, it's going to be brutal. The problem is, like, the Bruins suck. So, like, this game really sucks. So, like Pasternak, Zacha, Geeky, only 16,700. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd much rather play Boston 1 here tonight than Minnesota 1. They're like $100 difference between the two of them. But I don't have a ton of interest in full stacking Boston 1, despite it being fully correlated at 5.1%. Like, they generate enough and it's fine, but like, I guess you can do them in mid-range builds, right? You do like Columbus 1, Boston 1, something like that. I don't particularly love it. But again, like, Ryan Lindgren with Adam Fox is just like a giant boat anchor. So, like, the Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere line controls the play. They have pretty good expected goals, but they're not great defensively. Like, Boston 1's fine. Don't get me wrong. I just don't love them. Boston 2 is a little bit more interesting because you're saving $3,100. You're still getting 2 guys on the top power play unit, and you're getting a Mika Kreider, Riley Smith line that just, they've been bad. And you're getting, second and third pairs for the Rangers, which are just atrocious. So I don't mind some sort of like Lindholm, Marchand. If I leave off Coyle and Adam Pasternak, I think that's fine. Like, I'm not super thrilled about Boston, but I understand from a price point and a matchup point, especially if you're playing more than one lineup, that they're going to be in your lineups. On the Rangers side, in single entry, that Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere line does interest me a little bit from the standpoint that Swayman has been awful this year, but the problem is the Rangers have been awful this year. The Bruins have been better defensively, and they're taking less penalties. And on top of that, the Rangers' power play has been pretty bad. And to put the cherry on top, Columbus 1 is only $300 more in a much, much better matchup. So, like, if you get to some Rangers 1 in MME, I think that's fine. I do have a little bit of interest for them in single entry just because Swayman has been bad, and they're $4,000 cheaper than they were in, like, November. But that's really about it. I think on the Rangers side, if I had to play something, it would be like a two-man of Hedel and Cooley. That's really about it. I don't love this game.
So I do want to start on the Bruins side, and you're right about Swayman. Like, he's been pretty bad for like at least half this year. One thing I will say is that he has gotten better, right? I was looking at his starts so far this year. His first 14 starts, he gave up at least 4 goals in nearly half of them. It was 6 out of 14 starts. He gave up at least 4 goals. His last 13 starts, he's given up at least 4 goals once. And it was that time that they just got absolutely blown out in Winnipeg. Other than that, it's like 2 goals against, 1 goal against, a couple 3 goals against, and then 2 goals against, and then 3 goals against. Like, Boston's getting so much better defensively that even when Swayman's not having a great game, they're still not giving up a ton of goals, right? Because they're limiting the shots very well. So I understand playing the Rangers top line. It's the only line I have interest in from the Rangers side, to be clear, is Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere. Even through the team struggles, like their last 125 minutes together at 5-on-5, they're still scoring 3.8 goals per 60 minutes, right? Like, that's about 10 games worth of ice time. Even over those 125 minutes with the team just sucking ass, like, there's still a high-end scoring line. And with Lafreniere on the top power play now, they're perfectly correlated. So I'm not sure if Lafreniere is going to be better than Zibanejad on the power play. I'm sure Rangers fans will have an opinion about that. But now it is a perfectly correlated line. Like, think about if this was 12 months ago or even 2 months ago, if this line was perfectly correlated at 17,600 at home against the Bruins, we would probably be saying slam them in. So I do have a little bit of interest in that Rangers line because, again, they're not at 21K, right? So even if things kind of go bad, like they only get a couple goals, like obviously bad would be like 0 goals. They're kept off the board or whatever. But if they only get a couple goals, like 2 goals, 2 assists, maybe Panarin can sneak in a shot bonus or something like that, you might be fine depending on what the rest of your lineup looks like. Whereas if they're 21 or 22K and they did that, you'd be kind of screwed. So I do have a little interest in Rangers 1 here. I'm not going to lie. I do have some interest in Boston. Like, I know it's been popular to kind of crap on Igor a little bit for some reason, but he has been saving 1 goal above expected every 100 minutes of ice time this season. Jonathan Quick is 1 goal above expected like every 300 minutes. Igor's still been a lot better. Pasternak, Zacha, and Geeky's probably where my interest would go. But honestly, I would rather just go pay the extra $900 to go play the Rangers. I genuinely think I'd rather take the Rangers side here. It feels like playing with fire a little bit. The Bruins aren't really giving their top guys a ton of ice time. The Bruins power play still isn't very good. If the one thing the Rangers have genuinely had most of this season is a good penalty kill. Maybe with Quick and Net, it won't be the same. I guess we're about to find out. But the Bruins still don't have a very good power play. They have to get there at 5-on-5. I'd rather just take the perfectly correlated top line where like Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere are probably all going to play 19 to 21 minutes, and they're still scoring well at 5-on-5. Maybe the power play will be a little bit better with Lafreniere. I'm more interested in the Rangers, and it's Rangers 1 for me.
Yeah, I won't spend more than 30 seconds on this. I think taking Zibanejad off the top power play unit removes the only thing he had going for him this season. So yeah, I don't know what they're
this completely bones Zibanejad, but for DFS, it's obviously a big boost for Lafreniere.
Yeah, so I don't know. Lafreniere Lavalette is wearing out his welcome very quickly. Carolina Hurricanes with a 2.9 total heading into Florida. The Panthers have a 3.1. We kind of picked on Carolina the other night with Columbus. That worked out. Now you're getting an $18,800 line in Barkov, Reinhart, Rodriguez at 1.2% going up against Carolina 1. I mean, I'm kind of interested in that. I don't mind Florida too either at 16K, but like I'd rather just go up against the Aho Jarvis Roslovic line. Like they've been bad defensively by, I think they're like below league average in goals against, which is insane for a Carolina line. Barkov, Reinhart, Rodriguez have been good, coming in at 1.2% projected. If you're fading those lines above 20K here tonight, this would be one of the lines in the 16 to 19K range that I'd definitely be interested in. And people don't really play against Carolina because they think it's, a tough spot. But as Cliffy's mentioned over the past few weeks, it's not. So I do kind of like Florida 1 here. Florida 2 is fine. Whatever. Mackie Samoukevich, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He is min price. He is on the top power play unit now instead of Carter Verhaeghe. Columbus did score on the power play the other night, but like Carolina generally still has a really, really good penalty kill. If you're down to the dire straits and you have a lineup that you love and you need a min price utility, like you could do worse than Mackie Samoukevich here tonight. I'm not saying run out and play him, but he is power play 1 of min price. But it would be Florida 1 for me. Carolina side, I don't really have a ton of interest. I'm probably outside of, if you got like a one-off Jarvis or a one-off Netchis, that's fine. If you need like a super cheap filler, Stahl Martinook, Stahl Carrier, something like that, but I don't really love Carolina.
Yeah, we had talked about how Carolina's kind of been on a slide basically since like mid-November. So I wanted to look in case maybe they'd started to turn around very recently. They haven't. Over their last 10 games, they have basically the same expected goals against and team save percentage at 5-on-5 as the Montreal Canadiens. So just to kind of put that into a little bit of perspective, like things aren't really getting better defensively. It would be the Florida top line I would have interest in here. Like Kachuk's kind of going through the same thing Ovechkin's going through a little bit in terms of ice time. There have been a couple games recently where I think the Panthers lost by like 3 or 4 goals, but they've had games where it's a 1 and 2 goal game basically throughout, and Kachuk's playing under 17 minutes a game with some regularity. Like it's a little bit concerning, unless this is a blowout one way or another, that Reinhart and Barkov are gonna play their minutes. And Reinhart, Barkov, and Rodriguez have been good together this year. 2.9 expected goals, 3.8 actual goals per 60 minutes. Reinhardt's not shooting a ton. He typically hasn't been a massive volume shooter. That went up a little bit last year. It's been up and down so far this year. But like with the way Carolina's playing at 5-on-5 right now, I'm not really concerned about any of the matchups. Like I'd be concerned if this was Florida going into Carolina and they're going to match up against the Jordan Stahl line, but they're not going to see almost any of the Jordan Stahl line in this matchup. It's going to be pretty much the entire top 6 for Carolina, and those matchups are perfectly fine. So I do like Florida 1 here. They are my favorite line in this game. I think I'm out on Florida 2. I'm definitely not going down to Florida 3. If you do want extra power play correlation, you can swap out Rodriguez and put in some Samoukevich, but the one thing Carolina has had, kind of like the Rangers, that they've been very good on the penalty kill all year. So I know Columbus got there, I think once, if not twice in that game. Those things happen. I wouldn't bank on that happening all the time, but I do like Florida 1 here in this matchup. It's a good 5-on-5 matchup for them. Nobody's playing them. This is a Reinhart, Barkov, Rodriguez line that has been great offensively this year at 5-on-5, coming in at 1% under 19K. I'd rather play them than Washington is the way that I would look at it. So Florida 1 for me. I don't have any real interest on the Carolina side. Certainly not in a single entry like Aho, Jarvis, Roslovic. It's just a brutal matchup for them. That Carolina second line, like I honestly don't know why they're keeping them together. They really haven't done it like anything. They've been getting outscored and they haven't been scoring. So Natchez has been in a huge slump now for like 4 weeks. I really don't know why they're keeping them together, but they are. So out on Carolina 2, I guess Carolina 3 or something if you need a dumpster dive because you're playing Colorado or Tampa Bay or whatever. But for me, this is a Florida game, and it's Florida one that I have the interest in.
Yep. Before we move on, we have a $50 super chat from Mark Brandon. Thank you very much. He says, beard, bomb, money. Appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful 2025. Appreciate the support from you guys, from you. And if you want to shoot me your details on your Brazilian doctor, don't lie. You know it's Brazilian. And your, your pharmaceutical plan, that'd be great. But thanks for the super chat. I appreciate the support.
Yeah, really do appreciate that. Great way to start off 2025. Appreciate you sending that in. We certainly don't hate hearing nice words like that. So thanks. And let's hope to a really good 2025.
Yeah. Detroit Red Wings with a 3.1 total heading into Columbus. Our Blue Jackets with a 3.3 total. Okay. Columbus one is Monahan, Marchenko, Voronkov. We all know that. 17,900. 10.7% top two stack, 12.1% projected ownership. Here's what worries me. I think that ownership's going to be low. The last time they were in a smash spot on this big slate after coming off back-to-back, like just destroying everybody, they were wild chalk. It does worry me. I'm kind of hoping that, Winnipeg, Vegas, Colorado, Tampa, they eat some, and this is actually pretty close to accurate because this is a really, really good spot, 5-on-5 and power play. They just keep on rolling. This is a Columbus one game, obviously, for me. I don't have a ton of interest in the depth. Like Ken Johnson, Sellinger, Olivier's fine if you're, spending up for Colorado or Tampa or something like that. But really, I just want Columbus one, Werenski. That's really about it. I guess like Ken Johnson's on the top power play unit, so he would be fine. On the Detroit side, like these lines suck. But it's a really, really good power play spot, and they have a 3.1 total, and they're not getting any ownership. So like doing like a Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, or Larkin, Raymond, Kane, something like that, I would be interested in. It's not the best 5-on-5 matchup for the Larkin, Raymond line, like that Monahan, Marchenko, Voronkov line. They did slide a little bit for a few weeks, but they've kind of plateaued a little bit. But it is an excellent, excellent power play spot. So I wouldn't mind doing, Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond, Kane. If you want to do if you just want a full stack Detroit 2, I guess it's fine because the middle six of Columbus is just a bag of ass. So it's fine. But if I'm going to do that, I'm going to leave Kopp off and add in Larkin, I think. So it would be some sort of power play stack for me on the Detroit side.
Yeah, I'll start with the Red Wings. I agree with you. This is a good power play spot. The Detroit power play has been legitimately good. When they've stacked the top power play, which is why they ever got away from that at any point in the last 3 years, they did 5 years even they've been doing that, trying to split power play units. they barely had enough talent for one, and they're trying to split them across two. Anyways, the top power play unit fully stacked has been good. I would probably do something like I agree, DeBrincat, Kane, Larkin, Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat. The thing is like you said, that Monahan line's been kind of fine at 5-on-5. It's the second and third lines from Columbus that typically have been struggling defensively. So it's not a bad matchup for DeBrincat, Kane, Kopp. And DeBrincat, Kane, Kopp, not good defensively, but they've been creating reasonably well offensively. Above average by expected goals, well above average by scoring. I don't mind going into DeBrincat, Kane, Kopp because at 13,100, you're getting those secondary matchups. You get the two guys on the power play. It is a good power play matchup against Columbus. Detroit power play has been good. And they do fit, if you're playing 18, 19, even 20K lines, they are a fillery type line that you can use. So I don't mind them in that sense, but I would really be hesitant to play Detroit and not have at least one of Larkin or Raymond in my lineup. That's kind of the issue that I'd be running into. But I do like the Detroit power play guys. But yeah, this is a Columbus game for me. Again, it's notable that they said no lineup changes from the last game because they've been running 11 forward, 7 defensemen. And when teams run 11 forward, 7 defensemen, it's the top forwards that get more ice time, right? They don't take out a forward and then start playing their third and fourth line more, right? It's the top guys that get more ice time. And that's been what's happening with Columbus. Over their last 5 games, Marchenko and Monahan both over 20 minutes. Voronkov just under 19 minutes. Like these guys are playing 19 to 21 minutes a game now because they're going 11-7. The Columbus top line, like you said, great offensively. 3.8 expected goals per 60. It's over 50% above average, the league average. 6.2 actual goals. So while they're riding hot, they're kind of like Washington earlier in the year where Washington was riding hot but legitimately playing extremely well offensively. That's exactly what Columbus is doing. And Columbus's power play has been good. It's the one thing Columbus has been not had for quite a while now is a good power play, like a few years. It's actually been good. Good shot generation, good goal generation. Detroit's penalty kill has been getting better. They have changed up their formations a little bit. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just luck. I don't know. But this is a line that's going to play 19 to 21 minutes at home, perfectly correlated. It's been great offensively all season, and it's still under 18K. Columbus for me.
Yeah. I mean, like it's hard to show to rein it in with Columbus because we've been on them early and it's been fruitful for a lot of people. So before we move on, we have a $65 super chat Canadian from our pal Dave, who just, if you didn't know, he just qualified for the live final last week. So congrats to him. 65 Canadian translates to like a Big Mac American. No, I'm just fucking with you, man. I appreciate it. I honestly don't know the conversion, but it's probably around 50 American, I guess. I don't know. First time catching the show live this season. Glad to have been able to join. If you did very well with Columbus won, Vegas won last Friday, and you want to go back to them for sentimental reasons, like qualifying for a live final, but now they no longer fit, who do you drop? Olofsson. So this might be a hot take, but I think the guy you would leave off, and I don't really like leaving off guys on fully correlated lines, and both of them are fully correlated. But if you're going to leave someone off, I think my number one choice would be Mark Stone.
Yeah, first, thanks, Zeke. Appreciate you sending in the super chat. Yeah, like 65 is like 50 Canadian, or 50 American, give or take. Just to answer the question, I hate to say it, but I think I kind of agree, is to drop Stone. Like Olofsson does shoot. They are looking for him to shoot. Obviously, Eichel is kind of the guy that drives that line. And if you want to replace somebody, like you can take out Stone, put in Hurdle, it's $1,800 cheaper, right? Whereas, Hurdle's actually more expensive than Olofsson, so you can save money and still have a fully correlated power play line, even if they're not fully correlated to even strength. So I think I probably would go Stone down to Hurdle, but I agree with you. It really hurts to leave a guy off a fully correlated line. That's not something that I'd be too keen on doing.
I think Stone would be number one. I think Monahan would be number two, but like neither feel good leaving them off.
Yeah.
Toronto Maple Leafs. Hello. 2.8 total heading into Long Island. That just sucks. The Islanders have a 2.8. I've already used this game sucks, but this game sucks. No Matthews. He did travel with them. He did skate, but it sounds like it's a lingering issue. It's something he's going to have to deal with for the rest of the season. So I hope he still plays for Team USA to drive the Leafs fans nuts. Toronto going Tavares, Marner, Pacioretty, Nylander, Nyes, Kampf. What a scene there. Islanders going Lee, Barzell, Pajot, Nelson, Palmieri, Sipelkoff, Horvat, Duclair, Cizikas. I don't have a ton of interest on the Leafs side. They're just too expensive, that Tavares Marner line. $19,800. They're priced in that range with Washington 1. Yes, they're going to play more than Washington 1, but the Islanders don't take a ton of penalties. 2.8 road totals, all right. They have been really good this season, but at 19.8, it's just tough pill to swallow when you can get Florida 1, for example, for $1,000 cheaper at the same ownership in, a little bit better matchup. So I don't particularly love Toronto here. Toronto 2's all right, but like David Kampf 2C, like that's just Jesperi Kotkaniemi territory. I guess a Nylander one-off would be fine, but I don't particularly love the Leafs here. I don't really love the Islanders either, but the one thing I will say is Sipelkoff is back with Nelson and Palmieri. Nelson and Palmieri have excellent numbers with Sipelkoff this year. They're 12,800. The Leafs take a lot of penalties. They're not great defensively. They struggle on the penalty kill, so I don't mind that Nelson Palmieri Sipelkoff line.
Yeah, quickly on Toronto, I don't hate the top line here outright. Like, I genuinely don't like Washington tonight. And they're like you said, they're $500 more expensive. I just generally have no interest in Washington in a single entry. Toronto, I think, is kind of fine because, Tavares and Pacioretty have generally played pretty well this year. Pacioretty's getting more ice time now that he's kind of on the top line. Like earlier in the year, he's getting 12, 13 minutes. Now it's like 15, 16, which is fine. Not really worried about the Islanders matchups. The Islanders are one of those teams where the numbers don't look horrible except on the penalty kill. They still find a way to screw up just about every single game. It kind of reminds me of the Ottawa Senators from last year. The thing is I agree. I'd rather just go play Florida. You know what I mean? But I would rather play. We'll get to Buffalo in a bit. I'd rather play Toronto than play Buffalo. I'd rather play Toronto than play Washington. But I'd rather play Florida than play Toronto. So they're not at the top of my list. They're not near the bottom either of lines in that price range. So, they have been fine. 2.6 expected goals, 4.6 actual goals. Riding hot by shooting percentage, 18%. It's notable that the power play has been good without Austin Matthews. Like, not just, goal scoring or whatever, but generating a lot of shots, quality shots as well. That Islanders penalty kill does suck. Like, even if the Leafs only get 2 power plays, they could pretty easily go 1 for 2 here tonight. There's just one line in that price range I would rather play. So what I will say about Toronto is that third line is a little bit interesting. McMahon, Domi, Robertson. It's been like a calendar year now that Bobby McMahon's been a pretty good goal scorer for his price. Domi's certainly come alive a little bit lately. The only reason I mention them is because they're under 10K and there is super expensive Colorado and Tampa that we'll get to eventually. So you might need some players that are, super cheap here tonight. That Toronto 3 line has been fine enough. McMahon can score. Domi's been better. All that stuff. It would be Toronto 1, but I don't have a ton of interest in Toronto. I think I have more interest in the Islanders side here, but it's just a price thing. Nelson, Palmieri, Sipelkoff, 12,800. They've been put back together mercifully. They have been generally fine. I was looking over their last 125 minutes as well. 2.7 expected goals, 3 actual goals. Perfectly correlated on the second unit. They'll only get about a third of the ice time, but perfectly correlated in a third of a power play setup is better than nothing. So probably Nelson, Palmieri, Sipelkoff for me. But it's just because they're so cheap. I don't really like them as a line in this matchup here tonight.
Yeah. I'll never go out of my way to stack the Islanders, but for under 13K, that iteration is fine. Ottawa Senators with a 2.7 total heading into Dallas. The Stars have a 3.4. As far as we know, Dallas is running back Hintz, Robertson, Dadonov, Johnston, Duchesne, Ben. Ottawa going Kachuk, Pinto, Grieg, Stützle, Batherson, Gaudette, Norris, Giroux, and Cousins. These Islanders, I'm just all messed up now. These Senators lines, the coaches just lengthen the lineup. It's just atrocious for DFS. If anything, I don't mind Pinto, Kachuk, Grieg, but this is just a tough matchup. They are 14-9, so if you're in that mid-range just above a filler, Like, I guess they're fine. They have a 2.1% top two stack. That's not awful for a line in that range. The Hintz Robertson line is a little bit higher and a little bit cheaper. But again, like at 14.9, the Johnson Duchesne Ben line is 14.8. And there's no universe where I'm playing Kachuk Pinto Grieg over Johnson Duchesne Ben. Like, they've just been good. This is a good matchup. Travis Hamonic still on the top pair despite my boy Artem Zub being back. This would be Johnson Duchesne Ben for me. There's a lot of ownership there. That's the issue. 5.8 top stack, 13% projected ownership on a 12-game slate is pretty high. But they are 14,800, so it's not the worst negative leverage I've ever seen. This isn't, like Nashville chalk from a few seasons ago at that price. So, like, I don't mind it. You want to go to Hintz, Robertson, Dodonov. Like, again, Dodonov doesn't do anything for me. I guess you could go like Hintz, Robertson and add in a Ben if you wanted to for power play correlation. So in that sense, I don't mind it. But as a full stack, I prefer Johnson, Duchesne, Ben.
Yeah, I don't really have much interest on the Ottawa side. On the season, they're a bottom 10 5-on-5 scoring team. In their last 10 games, they're a bottom 10 5-on-5 scoring team. They've succeeded offensively because of the power play, and you could make a decent argument that Dallas has at least a top 5 penalty kill in the league, if not like top 3. Legitimately one of the best in the league. So it kind of holds back any interest I have in Ottawa. Like, to me, Ottawa is kind of like, I don't want to say they're kind of like Boston, but they're giving me a little bit of Boston vibes where, like, if they're going to win, they're going to win 3-2. Maybe they get lucky on the power play. I don't know if they're going to go in and drop 6 or something like that. So out on the Sens, I don't even think these lines are going to last that long. This coach can't help himself. He's not going to leave Josh Norris on the third line too long. For me, it is the Dallas side. There is a lot of ownership at the price. I think it's fine. Also, ownership on a slate this big, I'm not super concerned about. And one thing that is notable is Johnston Duchesne and Ben. They don't have a big sample together this year. Johnston and Duchesne, though, up near 40 minutes, generating very well offensively. Why Johnston has 32 shots in his last 10 games? Like, he's been playing over 20 minutes a game. Like, he looks more like the guy we remember him being than he was for the first 30 games of this season. I would probably go back to Johnston, Duchesne, and Ben. 14,800. Yes, there is 13% ownership, as you mentioned, but 5.8 top 2 per stack for a line that's under 15K on a 12-game slate feels fine to me, honestly. The other thing is, like, Ottawa still doesn't have any goalies. Like, they are going to Levi Marilainen here tonight. It's not Ullmark. It's not even Anton Forsberg. I like Johnson, Duchesne, Ben. If you want to go to Hintz, Robertson, Dodonov, they've honestly been fine. Like, above average by expected goals, 3.3 actual goals. Robertson does have 30 shots in his last 10 games. He's starting to come alive a little bit lately. So if you want to go to them because there's less ownership, I'm not going to argue. But Johnson, Duchesne, and Ben for me. Johnson, Duchesne have played well together. Johnson's been shooting a lot more. Johnson and Ben are on the top power play together. I just think that there's a lot to like there, even with that high ownership. So no interest in Ottawa. Dallas top 2 lines are fine, but it's the Johnson line I have more interest in, even with that ownership.
Agreed. Anaheim Ducks with a 2.4 total heading into Winnipeg. The Jets have a 3.6. I'm out on the Ducks. Like, the Vetrano Terry Strome line is fine when they're home, but in Winnipeg, they're going to see the Lowry Niederreiter Iafallo line, and I just don't want to, I guess McTavish, Gauthier, Fabry as a filler at 9,400. If you need something that cheap, is fine. They are fully correlated on the second unit. They will see a fair bit of that Connor Scheifele-Velarde line, which isn't studious, we could say, defensively. So I guess if you need a filler there, that's fine. But for the most part, out on the Ducks, this is a Winnipeg 1 game for me because, as I just alluded to, when Winnipeg's home, they see middle six matchups, and the middle six for the Ducks is about as bad as it gets. Like I'm trying to be as nice as possible here. They are 21,700, which isn't like super expensive because Tampa one's on the slate and they're $27,000 for no reason. But this is an excellent power play spot. It's Gibson in net, not Dostal, and they have positive leverage. Like, obviously, I haven't built my lineup yet, and we don't have concrete Colorado lines. But of the spend-up options, I think Winnipeg's right there for one of the best matchups of the night. So I do really, really like Winnipeg 1 here. Winnipeg 2, they're coming in at almost 7% projected, which is just too much negative leverage for me. Ehlers is on the top power play unit, so if you want to do something with him, that's fine. But really, this is just the Winnipeg 1 game for me.
Yeah, I will mention Anaheim, that Anaheim third line, McTavish, Fabry, Gauthier, for two reasons. Three reasons. One, they've been legitimately good offensively together at 5-on-5. 4 reasons. 3.2 expected goals, 3.7 actual goals per 60 minutes. The second reason, they are perfectly correlated on the power play. Power play is not good. Perfect correlation is better than no correlation, though. So you get that. 3, they're kind of the second line now. Like, they've been getting more ice time than the Leo Carlsson line of late. Like 15 minutes on the low end, 18 to 19 minutes at times on the high end. And 4 is that they fit with Tampa and Colorado. So, if you are playing one of those 24 to 26K lines, you need super cheap lines, super cheap players. These are guys that have actually played well that you can use. Other than that, I have no interest in Anaheim. My interest is on the Winnipeg side. My interest is on the Winnipeg top line. You're right about the price. Like, the price really isn't that bad for the matchup, right? Anaheim's still bad defensively. Like, Gibson's been good. You do have to, it's not like Gibson's been the Gibson of the last few years. He's legitimately been good. His save percentage is above average despite playing on a terrible defensive team. But all it takes is just like one. All he needs is like one below average game, and it's 4 or 5 goals against, right? And Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, they'll play, Velarde maybe 18 to 19 minutes, Connor and Scheifele 19 to 21 minutes. They've been really good, even of late, 3.9 goals per 60 minutes over their last 15 games. Velarde shooting a little bit more of late as well, perfectly correlated on the power play. Anaheim's been taking more penalties as the season's gone on. They're up to 3.2 times shorthanded per game over the last 5 weeks. And Winnipeg's been drawing more power plays as the season's gone on. And Winnipeg's power plays been pretty consistently amongst the best in the league. So Winnipeg 1 is legitimately one of my favorite lines on the slate. And honestly, at an ownership that's about half their top 2 stack, and the fact that they're $3,000 cheaper than Colorado and like $5,000 cheaper than Tampa, I think there are a lot of reasons to like the Winnipeg Jets here.
Agreed. Buffalo Sabres with a 2.7 total heading into Colorado. The Avs have a 3.7. Valeri Nichushkin is out. Arturi Lekkonen's going to take his spot on power play 1. That is confirmed. What we don't know are the lines. Now, in our top stack, Jake has put McKinnon, Rantanen, and Lehkonen together. That is the obvious guess. What could happen, and this isn't a shot at Jake at all. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm just taking a shot at Jake. I'll take plenty of shots at Jake, but this is not one of those times. Like, it could be Johnny Drouin with Lehkonen and McKinnon. When guys have been hurt and they have enough for 2 lines, for some reason, Bednar loves McKinnon and Rantanen apart. So there is a legit possibility that the top line could be McKinnon, Lehkonen, and Drouin. As it stands, they're 24,700 with Rantanen. Either way, I have interest in Colorado 1 because Thompson, Tuck, and Zucker have been bad. Both ends of the ice. So Obviously, if Drew ends there, it's like $5,000 cheaper. They'd be under $20K. Obviously, Mikko Rantanen's the much better player, but they're both on power play 1. Buffalo's been a train wreck all season. They haven't been great on the penalty kill. I do have interest, irregardless of, is that even a word? Probably not, of who's with McKinnon and Lehkonen. Even if it's Rantanen, even if they're 24,700, I do have interest. The second line, whether it's Drouin or Rantanen, I don't really have interest there. It would be Colorado 1. It'd be if it's Drouin up there, it would be Colorado 1 or Colorado power play. If it's Rantanen up there, it's Colorado 1. If you need to save some salary, you can take Lehkonen off, add in Drouin. Do what you need to do to fit your lineup. But it would be the Colorado power play guys. On the Buffalo side, it is Scott Wedgwood in that. But that Thompson-Tuck-Zucker line has been brutal, man. So if anything, it would be Peterka Cousins Quinn. I don't particularly love that either, but they're only 12,500, so they're a filler. So that's really about it.
Yeah, I just have no interest in Buffalo, so I'm not even going to bother talking about them. The tough thing is what to do with Colorado, because obviously they're in a really good spot here, pretty high total. As you mentioned, the Zucker line, or Zucker on the top line with Tuck and Thompson, 3.4 expected goals against per 60. Somebody in the chat mentioned earlier how the Johnston line was buzzing when Buffalo was in town the other night. It was only UPL that saved them. It's probably going to have to be kind of the same thing again here tonight. The question is just if you do build with Rantanen on the top line, and it is like a Lehkonen Drouin with McKinnon or something like that, then there's a lot of salary that's going to be lost. I might almost build with Rantanen on the top line and then have a cheap defenseman either from this game or from another game. And then if it is Drouin or Lehkonen, then you can drop down in salary and then you can improve your defenseman, like that type of thing. That's kind of the way that I would approach it. But Colorado 1, assuming it's Rantanen and Lehkonen, 3.2 expected goals, 3.8 actual goals per 60. It would be perfectly correlated. McKinnon, earlier in the season, he wasn't shooting, then getting a lot of assists. Then he started shooting and wasn't getting as many assists. Now he's doing both. It's like last 10 games, it's almost 4 shots per game with a lot of assists. He's just having an unbelievable season. I really do like Colorado 1 here. It's just a matter of what Colorado 1 looks like. There's nothing that concerns me on the Buffalo side. The only concern is if UPL does what he did against Dallas, and that's kind of stand on his head. Other than that, I don't have a lot of concerns. Like Colorado is a top 3 line on the board here tonight.
Oh, Utah Soakers with a 3.3 total, second highest road total, by the way. Heading into Calgary, the Pilot Lights have a 3.1. This game's a 6.5. What a scene. It looks like Keller is going to be back. They ran Schmaltz, Hayton, Keller, Genther, Cooley, McBain. So back to the status quo in the top 6. We don't have that updated in top stacks, but it will get updated on the next run. Calgary going Kadri, Huberdeau, Pospisil, Backlund, Coleman, Coronado, and then Sharon Govich, Zari, Peltier. There is a ton of ownership on Calgary here, and there's always ownership on Calgary here. I don't particularly see it. I don't love it. Utah has been pretty good at 5-on-5 defensively. Considering that how bad, their blue line has been injured, they've had injuries throughout the lineup. They've been decent at 5-on-5. They still have a pretty bad penalty kill. I don't think Calgary power play is anything to be feared. Cliffy did let me know before the game or before the show that Calgary had one power play in the last game. It was a 5-on-3, and they took off Zari and put on Kadri. But I feel like that could just be a change. But I also feel like coaches have their weird lineups with the 5-on-3, so it could just be that. So as it stands, both of these top 2 Calgary lines are getting double digits. I don't particularly love it. If anything, I think it would be Kadri, Huberdeau, Pospisil. They have less ownership. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're going to avoid that Schmaltz, Hayton, Keller line. which has been legitimately good at both ends of the ice. So it would be Kadri, Huberdeau, Pospisil if I was going to play Calgary. I don't think I will because I don't like the owner. I don't like playing chalk Calgary. We'll just put it that way. But obviously, if you're making your own lineups, if you like them, you play them. They're in a good power play spot. It's a decent 5-on-5 matchup.
Yeah, Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'll just be quick on Utah. Honestly, I prefer the Utah side here. If you want to go play Schmaltz, Hayton, and Keller, that's fine. But, they're going to see a fair bit of back on Coleman, which I don't particularly love. And Genther, Cooley, McBain, 13-3, only 3.5% projected. That would probably be the preferred line. But it is Vladar in net. So, if you want to leave off McBain and add in a Keller for some power play, that's fine. But I prefer the Utah side here.
It kind of sucks that they're going with Vladar. I was hoping they were going with Wolf just because I kind of had interest in playing Wolf. It's like 0.4 goals per game difference between the two this year. It's significant. On the Calgary side, Backlund, Coleman, Coronado, I have no interest in because they are going to match up against the Keller line. The Keller line this year, 2.3 expected goals against, 1.8 actual goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. That's really good. Really good. And, only Coronado's on the top power play units. You only have one guy on the power play in a bad 5-on-5 matchup. So I'm out on Backlund, Coleman, Coronado. It'd be Huberdeau, Kadri, Pospisil, 13,600, 2.9 expected goals, 4.4 actual goals per 60. Huberdeau for over a month now has been around 2 shots per game, which isn't a ton. It's not bad for him. Kadri obviously still shooting quite a bit. Pospisil getting more ice time. They're going to see the second and third lines from Utah, which haven't been as good defensively. So it would be Kadri, Huberdeau, Pospisil. There is a lot of ownership. I'm going to be honest, at 13,600, if I'm playing an over-owned line down in that price range, I'm probably just going to Dallas to go play the Duchesne, Johnston, Ben line. That's just kind of the way that I look at it. I would rather go play Dallas than play Calgary here tonight. But I don't have an issue specifically with Kadri, Huberdeau, Pospisil. I'm just saying if I'm going to play a cheap over-owned line here tonight, I'm going to go play the Dallas top line rather than the Calgary top line. So yes, I would have more interest in the Utah side. It would be McBain, Cooley, and Genther. As you said, they're going to miss that Coronado matchup. 2.7 expected goals, 4.1 actual goals per 60. They're not, they're not super expensive here tonight. At 13,300, coming with a lot less ownership than those Calgary lines. They are a decent filler. It feels bad stacking from Utah and leaving Keller off of it. But McBain's cheap enough where I think you can get by. It'd be Genther, Cooley, McBain that I have interest in. So it'd be that line or the Kadri line from the Calgary side. But again, if I'm going to play an over-owned line, I'm going to go play Dallas instead of the Flames.
Oh, yeah. All right. Philadelphia Flyers with a 2.8 total. Heading into Vegas, the Golden Knights have a 3.7. I have no clue what the Flyers lines are going to be outside of Brink, Forrester, Cates. That line has been legitimately good. They're 8,400. That would be the only line I would full stack if I'm playing Tampa or Colorado. One off Konechny is fine. One off Michkov. One off Tippett, sure. Don't particularly love it. Honestly, on the Flyer side, it would be that Brink, Forrester, Cates line if I'm playing Colorado or Tampa. Otherwise, I'm probably out on the Flyers. Vegas side is wildly more interesting. Eichel, Stone, Olofsson fully correlated at 20,100. Now, I don't think it truly matters, the matchup. They'll probably see whatever Couturier line it is. If it's Couturier, Konechny, sure. They've been very good in a small sample. It's a small sample, about 40 minutes. They're fully correlated, and it's Kolosov in net. And he just does not have NHL numbers. 872 save percentage. His high danger save percentage is almost under 7. Which, for reference, Carl Vamelka, his high danger save percentage is almost 850. So, like, I do really like Vegas 1 here. 20,100. It's just a matter of, like, do you want to play them for a little bit cheaper? Or do you want to spend up for Winnipeg? Do you want to spend up for Colorado? Do you want to spend up for Tampa Bay? Do you want to go a little cheaper with Columbus? You know what I mean? So, like, you have some questions there. They have a little bit more ownership than Colorado and Winnipeg, but they're arguably in a great, great spot here. Vegas 2 is also interesting because Hurdle, Carlson, Kolesar in a smaller sample have been legitimately really, really good. And, you know, they're only 12,800. You do get Hurdle on the top power play unit. The one thing that does concern me about that, and it's not a huge concern, but like Vegas 2 will see middle six matchups. And so, like, they may see a fair bit of Brink, Forrester, Cates, and that line has been legitimately good. But again, it's Kolosov in that, so I don't really care. So, like, if you need a filler out of this game, it would be Carlson, Hurdle, Kolosar. If you need a filler for the super expensive, it would be Brink, Forrester, Cates. Other than that, it's Vegas 1.
Yeah, for me, Philly's in the Anaheim bucket here tonight. It's like I'll play that under 10K super cheap line if I'm playing Colorado or Tampa Bay or something like that. Other than that, I have no real interest in playing them. For me, the interest is the Vegas side. Now, Eichel, Stone, Olofsson, they've been controlling the play. Like you said, it's been a small sample, but like Eichel and Stone have generally played well, whether it's been with Barbashev, whether it's been with Dorofeyev, it hasn't really mattered. They've been able to create. Philly, obviously not near as good defensively as they were last year. And the thing is like, this is both a good and a bad power play matchup for Vegas. It's a good power play matchup because Philly's penalty kill has just been on a straight nosedive for over a month now. Second most shot attempts against per 60, second most shots against per 60, fourth most goals against per 60. I just saw that they took Konechny off the penalty kill. They're putting Joel Farabee on. Not sure if that's actually going to change anything. But their penalty kill has been legit, like bottom 5 for like a month and a half now. Vegas power plays generally been good, even with Olofsson there. Without Olofsson, they were good. So it's a good power play matchup in that sense. It's a bad power play matchup in the sense the Flyers don't take a ton of penalties. And Vegas doesn't draw a ton of power plays. Like Vegas might only get a couple power plays tonight. It's kind of like that Leafs dilemma where the Leafs are in a great power play matchup, but it's like they might only get 2 power plays. So that's the one thing that's concerning about the Vegas side is that they might not see a ton of time on the special teams. But yeah, they have the 4th highest top 2 stack percentage on the board here tonight behind only Tampa Bay, Colorado, Winnipeg. They just have more ownership than all those lines because they are the cheapest. That's all. But like if you're looking to pay, 19 to 21K and you want a line that's probably only coming around 10%, that is a good matchup all over the board. Vegas 1 is certainly it. What I'll say about Vegas 2 is that because Vegas might not draw a ton of power plays, I don't mind going to Carlson, Hurdle, Kolesar here. Like, Hurdle and Kolesar, just the two of them in over 200 minutes together, 5-on-5, 76 shot attempts, 3.3 expected goals per 60. Those are really good numbers. Problem is they're only shooting 5.4%. League average is like 8.5. I feel like a cure for a low shooting percentage could be the Philadelphia Flyers goaltending. So I honestly don't mind going down to Carlson, Hurdle, Kolesar here. If you need a sub 12K or sub 13K filler stack, they're getting decent amounts of ice time. Hurdle's still on the top power play. Hurdle's been shooting the puck a little bit more of late as well. I honestly don't mind Vegas 2 here, but yeah, obviously just overall, Vegas 1 is the best line in this game and one of the best on the slate.
Yeah. Agreed. Vancouver Canucks with a 2.6 total heading into Seattle. The Kraken have a 2.9. Vancouver still missing Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. I'm a little bit in a conundrum here what to do with Seattle because, and I hate it being a Rangers fan, but like I'm happy for him. Capo Caco has looked great with Beniers and Schwartz. The problem is that line, even though they're 11-2, that line's going to be going out against Miller, Besser, DeBrusque. and they've just been really, really good defensively. Maybe it won't be as good defensively without Quinn Hughes. I just don't really want to find out on a 12-game slate. So for that reason, I'd just go back to our boys, right? Tolvin and Bjorkstrand. That's where I would go on Seattle. On the Vancouver side, like I think a Garland one-off makes some sense here. I don't particularly love that full line of Suter, Hoglander, Garland. They're only 11K, so if you need a filler, it's fine. Like my favorite line would be Besser, Miller, DeBrusk, but like they're going to see that Beniers, Schwartz, Kakko line. And that line has been, in a small sample, legitimately great. The issue is like Seattle's penalty kill sucks. But like Vancouver's power play without Quinn Hughes and Pettersson probably is going to suck. So like I don't particularly love spending 17K for that line. So I want those cheaper lines. So honestly, it would be the Garland Suter line and the Bjorkstrand, Tolvanen Wright line.
Yeah, I think we mentioned on the last show, was it New Year's Eve, that missing Quinn Hughes hurts Vancouver a lot more offensively than it does defensively, right? I was looking at their lines. Without Quinn Hughes on the ice, Miller and Besser at 2.4 expected goals against, 1.7 actual goals against, like pretty good defensively. Suter and Garland, 2.3 expected goals against, 2.5 actual goals against, like at or better than the league average. Like they're still good defensively. They just aren't generating jack shit offensively. Like I'm talking like Philadelphia fourth line type numbers. That's why I have no interest in Vancouver here. It's also why I don't have a ton of interest in Seattle. Like I feel because it was a 3-1 game Calgary against Vancouver on New Year's Eve. I think there was like 55 combined shots between the two teams. That feels like the kind of game that we're going to get here tonight for Seattle and Vancouver. Like, if anything, I guess it would be Beniers, Schwartz, and Kakko. Like, like you said, Kakko's fit in pretty well in a small sample. Kakko and Beniers. 3.3 expected goals, 4.3 actual goals per 60 in their time together. Like, Schwartz and Beniers probably play around 17 minutes. Kakko and Beniers both on the same power play. I guess that's the line that I would go to. If you want to go back to our tried and tested Bjorkstrand, Tolvanen, right, because they are cheaper. They kind of do fit in with those super expensive lines. That's okay. It would be Beniers, Schwartz, and Kakko, but I think the fact that this game is a 5.5 total kind of tells me that I shouldn't really have a ton of interest here, and I honestly really don't.
Yeah. Tampa Bay Lightning with a 3.9 total heading into San Jose. The Sharks have a 2.6. Like, I don't have much interest in the Sharks, but like they're trying to kill Celebrini, I think, with these lines. Kostin, Granlund, Zetterlund, Celebrini, Smith, Graf, Kovalenko, Wenberg, Toffoli. Like, he's going to need back surgery from carrying these guys after this season. So, like, I just don't have a ton of interest in San Jose here. I guess it would be Toffoli, Wenberg, Kovalenko at 10-6 for a filler line. But, like, I feel like they're going to see a fair bit of that Hagel-Cirelli matchup, and I just don't want anything to do with that. So I'm out on the Sharks. One off Celebrini, always fine. Like, Tampa's not a great defensive team. Like, if it was Celebrini to Foley X, and that X is anyone besides Barclay Goodrow, I would have interest. But, like, these lines are just borderline unplayable. The question is what, and I mean what, do we do with Tampa 1 here? They're 26,900. That's the most expensive line I think we've ever broken down. And it's not close. Like, I think Edmonton won when they were humming, touched 26,100 at one point. And that was a McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman line. In single entry, there's no way on this planet or Beverly Hills, because Beverly Hills is not part of this planet, that I am paying 26,900 for Tampa 1. But hear me out.
And just before we go too much further, John Cooper, this came out while we were on the show. Cooper said that Jake Gensel's a game time decision. because
so that makes it even.
He was at practice in a non-contact jersey, I think, on Tuesday. So
Yeah, but like they're the latest game, so it's like almost impossible. But like Hagel's expensive, so like you could make it work. They do have the highest top stack percentage on the night, 31.5%, 4.3% projected ownership. Like, it's an unbelievably good power play spot. If you're worried about Gensel, you could go, like, Point, Kucherov, Hagel. But, like, we're talking, like, over 50% of your salary. It's insane to do in single entry on this slate. I can't prioritize them in single entry. I think Kucherov one-off, like, he could be playing up against a brick wall. I'd still say you can one-off Kucherov here. With Gensel being a game time decision, it does worry me. Honestly, I like Hagel, Cirelli, Geeky a lot more. They're coming in at under 2% projected, 16,800. I guess you could play them and hope that Gensel's out because then you'll see Cirelli on the top power play. It would probably be Tampa 2 for me regardless. Tampa 1 is fine in MME. It's just that price is unplayable.
Yeah, it is tough to say what to do because obviously the Sharks still don't have Jake Wallman, so they have by far their best defenseman. Like that Tampa line is going to see a ton of like Henrik Thrun, Cody Ceci. That's just like they are in a great spot here. It is just the price thing, right? Like 26,900. Like you do need like a 9K stack or whatever to go with them. If you put in Gensel doesn't play, you can drop down to Hagel. He's $600 cheaper. It's fine. It is a great 5-on-5 matchup. The Sharks have been taking a ton more penalties of late, amongst the most in the league over the last 5 weeks. That's what concerns me, is that the Sharks have a bad penalty kill, have been taking a ton of penalties. And it's not like the Lightning have generally been a team where they get up 4-0 and then they start putting on their second power play unit. Like Nikita Kucherov will go for 7 points if he can go for 7 points. You know what I mean? So obviously they're the best line in the best spot on the slate. Especially considering how they played. It's why they're priced where they are. It's why they have the highest top 2 stack percentage. Whether you want to pay $27K for a line on DraftKings here tonight is up to you. I can say that I won't be playing Tampa Bay 1. Part of the reason is that it's a 10:30 Eastern start. I usually go to bed at about 12:30 Eastern. So as long as the Sharks don't get buried in the first period or whatever, I probably won't see it till I wake up in the morning. I'm just not paying that much for them. Like honestly, I'd probably just go play like Winnipeg's just in a great matchup as well. You know what I mean? Colorado, not bad either. So that's just it for me. No interest on the San Jose side. No interest in the San Jose side.
These lines, they're unplayable. The lines. Let's talk about some defensemen. Oh my God, my voice is going, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll have some hot tea after the show. Top of the board, we have Makar, Werenski, Dahlin, Hedman, Carlson, Montour, Weegar, Sider. Obviously, Makar and Werenski would be 1-2 for me. Getting them in, if you're spending up, is very difficult. So if you are spending up, it's going to be hard to get to them. I think Hedman is in a great spot at 7K. Other than that, like I guess like Cedar. I'm so confused on his name now that guy said that. I'm just going to go back to Cedar. At 6,100, it's in a fine spot. Shea Theodore, 5,900. But like outside of Makar and Werenski, I don't really love the 6K and above.
Yeah, Werenski, I've Hedman hated pretty highly. Like it's San Jose, man. And like I said, it's possibly the best power play spot on the night tonight, given how bad San Jose's penalty kill has been, and all the penalties that they're taking, and how good Tampa's power play is. Like, so that's why I've Hedman hated pretty highly. The stochastic projections have Hedman third but his point per dollar is slightly better than Makar. So Werenski, Hedman, Makar, really do like Werenski again. Like, it's funny that Columbus is going 11-7 and Werenski still might play 30 minutes. Like,
it's insane how much he plays.
Yeah, in the mid price range, like there are a handful of like the Vegas guys, Pietrangelo, Hanifin, Theodore. Like Pietrangelo and Hanifin are playing 22, 23 minutes. It's a good spot for them. And where they might not get a ton of power plays, I don't mind playing them instead of Theodore. Neil Pionk or Josh Morrissey from Winnipeg, depending on what you do with the rest of your lineup. Like Jacob Chychrun, that shooting percentage is going to crash eventually, but that's a really good power play spot. And the power play has been legitimately good with him on the top power play unit. So I don't mind Chychrun either. For cheap, like Ty Smith is up to 3K, but he's still getting power play one time for Carolina. So that's fine. Like Brock Faber's under 4K. He's probably going to play power play one for Minnesota. Not a good spot for it, but power play one, still power play one. Dante Fabro, Ryan McDonough grading out very well. If you want to go super cheap, with all the Minnesota injuries on defense, like Declan Chisholm's probably going to have to play close to 20 minutes again. He might even get top power play time at some point. Maybe not tonight, but at some point. Dmitry Orlov, he's been getting more minutes since Shane Gostisbehere went down. Don't mind him either. The chat mentioned Josh Manson. Like Josh Manson again, really good matchup at home. Even if he only plays 18, 19 minutes with the guys that he's playing with in the matchup that he's in, I don't mind Manson either. Eric Brandstrom, I guess he's playable just because the Seattle penalty kill isn't very good. Like I would probably rather play Brandstrom over Ty Smith, but it's kind of like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah. Let's talk about some goalies, man. This is a bad goalie slate. All slates are bad goalie slates, but this one just feels relatively terrible. If I'm spending up, I think it would be for Ottinger. Hellebuck is honestly fine at 8,500. It's just like I'm not going to prioritize Hellebuck, but if I happen to get to where I need a goalie and I have 8,500, I'd play Hellebuck, if that makes some sense. Honestly, don't mind Samsonov at 8K either. That just feels bad clicking him in, but like I don't hate it. Joe Woll, 7,700, I'm cool with. Vejmelka, if he starts at 7,500, is one of my favorite. I guess you could play Demko at 7,400. Like, Seattle's not a massive shot volume team, but, I guess it's fine. Like, Sorokin at 7,300 against the Leafs without Matthews is fine. If I'm going way down, it would probably be for Askarov. But the problem that I have with that is Tampa isn't a massive shot volume team. They're just kind of efficient. So, like, in that case, like, you could also play Gibson. But, I guess, like, if you're going under 7K, you're not going to feel good about anyone you click in. And I don't think I'm going to live down there. I guess they're both playable if you need someone down there. And only if you need someone down there, I would play them. Yeah,
it wouldn't be my first person in. I'd probably rather play Gibson than Askarov. This Tampa game has like 5 goals on 29 shots written all over it or something like that. That's what kind of worries me. Ottinger at the top for me. He's number 3 by stochastic projections, but by point per dollar, he's also top 5. So I really do like Ottinger. Charlie Lindgren, I think, is fine for Washington. Not too worried about Minnesota without Kaprizov in the lineup. Hellebuck, like, he leads projections and he leads point per dollar projections. Like, he has a lot of shutout equity. So if you have the 8,500 to spend up for Hellebuck, I think that's perfectly fine. So Ottinger, Lindgren, Hellebuck. For the cheap goalies, like Vejmelka led the way. I had Dustin Wolf, and then they announced Vladash was starting, and I crossed out Dustin Wolf, and I did not put in Vladash in his place. So it's just Vejmelka for me. I don't like Grubauer as a goalie. But I do worry about Vancouver's ability, honestly, to score more than 2 goals. That's just kind of without Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson in the lineup. So I guess Grubauer is fine. I would probably rather just play Vejmelka at the same price. If you need a super cheap goalie, like I said, I would rather play Gibson than Askarov. But if you're playing either of them, I probably wouldn't watch the game.
Yeah. Just go to bed. We will be back tomorrow. I think it's a 5-game slate tomorrow and Saturday. Yeah, so look forward to that. But who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
A guy that we sort of slandered a little bit earlier, but I do like the line here tonight. Maybe he comes through in a big way. I'm going with Mark Stone.
That's actually a really good idea. Like, write down who we absolutely nuked during the show and then pick him for the hat trick pick. So you got all your bases covered. I'm going to go Dylan Guenther. I don't know. I'm feeling it. But yeah, we made it. 12 games. Voice is still there, kind of. Good luck, everybody, tonight. We'll see you in the Discord. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Over 530 people here. You guys are nuts. I mean, these beards are wildly excellent. But yeah, I get it. We'll see you tomorrow, and good luck, everybody.
Good luck tonight, everyone.